Hey Gifted Crafters, welcome back for another Saturday CrafterNoon. Thank you all for tuning in today. I see a lot of activity going on in the chat. Hope you guys enjoyed the trivia question. And if you're new, my name is Nancy with GiftsHQ, and I host these weekly live sessions to talk about all things crafting, from knitting, crocheting, decoupage, and so much more. So if that's something that you're into, you're definitely in the right place. Let's just jump right into the chat. Say hello to a couple of friends I see out there. I see Amy Bullis. I see Cheryl Lee, Crafting with Robin, Donna Phillips, Jackie Hallman, Judy Bauer, L.A. Garrity, 1 Minute Tips, Pam Williams, Quilty Brownie, Rita Edge, Sassy, and the Crafty Puerto Rican. Thank you guys all again for tuning in. I really appreciate you taking the time to spend this hour with me. I hope that you enjoy this hour. I think we're going to have a lot of fun, and I think it's something that's a cute little project that you'll be able to join in on if you're sitting in your craft room right now. So one thing I like to do again is my holidays. So let's just jump into the holidays and let you know what's going on out there. It is National Kindness Day, which is probably one of my favorites. It is also World Human Spirit Day. And tomorrow is National Drink Wine Day. So I know my sister will really appreciate that one. Alrighty, I see that we've got people from all over the place, from California, Minnesota, wow, Louisiana, Maryland, Texas, Oklahoma City, ooh, frigid Oklahoma City, oh boy. Looks like you guys are really having some really crazy weather lately, and I just don't know how you guys do it. Now, again, I'm tuning in from sunny South Florida, so our weather is a little bit warmer, I can say. Now it does get pretty hot during the summer, so right now it's kind of cool out and people kind of enjoy this time of the year, because for us this is kind of like our time to be out. Once the summer comes in and kicks in, it's probably just way too hot to be out there. So a lot of things going on for terms of outdoor activities out there. So, you know, it's just a great time to now kind of get together with people and have fun and, you know, just spend some time. But I do like to get away and get into my craft room, which is where I am right now. And it's not the biggest, but it's the cute little, quaint little room that just makes me happy, and I'm able to get a lot of things done. So I hope you guys again are going to enjoy this hour and tune in, because we're just may have a little surprise for you sometime within the hour. So I hope you guys really enjoy it. Oh boy. So lots of people, you know, talking in the chat. Yeah, Judy Bauer's asking about the earthquakes as well. Yeah, it's just crazy. It's crazy, huh? This world that we live in is just crazy today. All right, so let's jump into it, because we've got a little project to do, and I think you guys are going to really like it. But if you tuned in last week we kind of talked about the disappearing block, and we kind of did one really quick that you can kind of get together and do. So if you missed that one, that was live number 77. So if you want to tune into that one, you can go back and watch the replay on that. And this week, again, we're going to do this little project. Let me just bring it on out here. So I decided that it would be cute to make some little pin cushions. And I thought that this was a cute little project to do, because there's a lot of these. They're really quick, fast, easy to do. They don't take up a lot of supplies, and you can sell them at craft fairs. And I know a lot of you, you know, since the weather's right now is a little bit wintry, but, you know, as the spring starts coming along, a lot of the craft fairs are going to be opening up. And so you're looking for like little projects that you can make so you can sell. I think this one is a great one because it doesn't take up a lot of materials at all. I just use very little fabric, and I kind of accented it with 2 little buttons on here, but you can kind of accent it any way that you would like. But it's quick, it's easy, you can do them really fast, and you know, you can sell these. I mean, people would really love to buy these little adorable things. other things that you can do with these is you can put them on top of containers. You can make them in different shapes. I did little squares, and then I kind of bent it a little bit with the thread to kind of make it look like a flower. You can do round ones to put on top of containers and things like that. So there's all kinds of different things that you can do and different ways you can do them. And I think that they would be great little gifts for maybe some of your sewing friends, or you can sell them at the craft fair. You know, so they're cute little items that you can do. And let me just let you get a closer look. So here's the first one. And I thought, you know, the colors were really cute. And the back is kind of the same. And then this one is the second one, where I put a little button here in the middle as well. And you can see here that the points are kind of all joining together. So there is a little bit of sewing that you do, but it's really not much. It's very, very easy to do. It's a very beginner-friendly project. And then in the back, you know, I don't have anything here. You can see my points meeting towards the middle here. But you can also put another button here if you want to have it on both sides. You know, it's totally up to you. But you can do all kinds of other things. It doesn't necessarily have to be a little button. You can do little gems, little things that you can pick up from the dollar store, little charms, things like that, that you can also stick there. And you can just glue them down. You don't necessarily have to stitch them in. So it's kind of up to you how you want to do it. And I'm just going to throw out some ideas on there and see if you guys like it. So let's get to it, because this is so quick and easy. You're gonna love it. You're gonna love how fast it takes. So not too many fabric. In terms of fabric, not too much yardage is going to be used. Now I am using these little 4-inch squares. Now I bought a little pack of 4-inch squares from Temu, and it came like all different assorted ones. So I have them in my little scrap buster pile here. Let me just show you that. They do have quite a number of things in here. This is just my little scrap buster. And I believe all of these are the ones that came. I think I bought 2 packets, so I have them kind of doubled up here. And you can see they're all different little scraps of 4-inch squares. I just thought it would be a really cute little quilt that I can kind of put together, probably like a little table runner. But I've had them here, and I haven't had the time to really make the table runner. And I saw this little pin cushion. I said, you know, we could really make one of these. Now, I bought one a long time ago, probably from Hobby Lobby. You guys have probably seen these pin cushions around. So these are different ideas that you can do. So you can also take pieces of wood. You know, this has a little burlap here. Looks like they got these little words on here that says, "So blessed." And then it has the pin cushion right on the top that is literally just glued to the top. Anybody can make this. This you can get in Hobby Lobby, and I got it like long time ago. But it's definitely one of those things that you can make very easily. So, you know, kind of think out of the box. I'm going to show you these 2 today, but there's all different ones that you can make. And these are definitely little great scrap busters, little gifts that you can give to your friends. But it's also a good little money maker if you're doing a craft show or something like that. So I hope that you enjoy that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use these 2 fabrics right here. So I've got 2 4-inch squares of one fabric, and then 2 4-inch squares of the other fabric. Now, don't get so hung up on the size, because you don't have to have it at 4 inches. It really depends what size you want to make. So these are with the 4-inch squares, but if you wanted to make them a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, you just kind of adjust the size that you have here. So I'm going to go ahead and lay them out, and I'm going to have the fabrics alternating, right? So you want alternating sides, because I want my fabric to kind of come out like this. So I want it to be alternating. But if you have different colors that you want to do that do not have designs on them, you can do that too, and just kind of alternate them like I did here. and it would just be really, really easy to do. So just in looking at this, I think you guys can anticipate what we're going to need to do. So let's go ahead and put the fabrics one on top of the other, so right sides together. And we're definitely going to be sewing a 1/4 inch seam here and a 1/4 inch seam here. So we're going to have 2 different sets. And don't be afraid of doing these, because if you are afraid of being able to match up seams and things like that, this project is super forgiving, especially if you're going to be using a button in the middle. If you don't get the seams right down perfectly, it's okay, because if you're going to embellish it with something in the middle, no one will ever really even see it. So don't be afraid of this, because this is a great way to practice that as well. So we're going to go ahead and seam this together. Let's take this over to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance here. I've got my sewing machine right here. I kind of brought it over, and I'm going to set this over here. And I've got my needle threaded, and I'm going to go ahead and line this up against the edge of my sewing foot. Now, every sewing machine is different, so you'll have to, when you're going to do your 1/4 inch seams, you really have to start to learn your machine. So just practice, and I would suggest measure out how you can get to the 1/4 inch seams. So for this specific machine, and this is a Brother HC 1850, it's one of my first and oldest machines, but it's like a little power horse, and I have it in a little cart so I can kind of move it around. I do have my SC 1900, but it is set for embroidery right now, so I'm going to leave it there and go ahead and use this machine. And with this machine, when I take the foot, I line up the edge of my foot and I set my needle position over to the center. And for this particular machine, it's 0-1. I'm going to go ahead and use, let's say, we're going to do 2.5 inches of stitch length. That is completely fine. You can go ahead and do 3 inches as well. This isn't really anything that needs to be so much of a construction stitch so much. I just want my stitches to kind of hang together, because we are going to kind of be sticking pins in here. So I definitely want this to kind of hold together. So let's go ahead and do this here. And one mistake that I've seen people do is they kind of grab the fabric from the back and they pull it. You don't need to do that. You just let your fabric lay flat, let the machine do the work. Just guide it to make sure it's straight, and I can literally just kind of leave it, let it go through, and let it glide to the end. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to grab my little snips so I can cut off these little edges. And the other end as well. And we have our nice straight 1/4 inch seam. It's kind of really hard to see with this fabric because it is really light, so apologies for that. Now I have my little ironing board here, and I like to set my seams when I'm doing these projects, so I'm going to go ahead and plug in my little mini iron here, because it will kind of heat up pretty quickly. But I do like that, I have my nice little seam here, and I'm just going to go ahead and flatten that seam, kind of just set it, and then we're going to go ahead and open it up. So while that's heating up, let me grab my second set here, and I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now, sometimes the fabric will kind of move around on you. And what's really nice is you can kind of just use your fingernails to scratch it into place and to make sure that it stays all together. So again, just gently guide it making sure that it's going nice and straight in the machine, but let the machine do all of the work. Okay. Again, let's just cut off those tails. Okay, and let's see, the iron should be nice and hot by now, so let's bring that over. And again, this is more of a habit for me. I'm just going to go ahead and set the seam. And then I'll open it up. Now, it really doesn't matter too much for this project. You always hear, you know, to kind of pull it towards the dark side. But for this particular project, it really doesn't matter. You don't really have to do it that way. But, you know, it's kind of more of a matter of personal preference. So I'm going to go ahead and open this one up as well. Okay, so now we have our two pieces here. And I'm going to move these over to the side. Now this is the part where everyone kind of gets a little angsty about, is because you have to now join the two together. And so we want these to be alternating. So I'm going to make sure that my fabric pieces have alternating fabrics are in place. And then what I'm going to do is just kind of lay them on top of each other. But when I do this, I'm really paying attention to the center seam. Now you can see that my seams are set on the opposite side. So I have one seam going this way and the other seam going that way. And I kind of did that on purpose because when I put them together, if I have them on opposite sides, it allows the fabric to just kind of sit and relax on top of each other. So it kind of lays nice and flat. And it'll allow me to then be able to see that I am in the center. So I'm going to try to see if I can bring this closer to the camera so you guys could see. And let me try to push it with my finger so you could see what I mean here. So you can see here, you've got one going one way and one going the other way. And so when you put the seams together, they kind of snug up against each other. And so it lays nice and flat. And that's what you want to pay attention to. You want to make sure that your seams are nice and snug and lined up. And because the seams are both going different directions, the fabrics is nice and relaxed and it just lays nice and flat. Now, I mentioned earlier that these 4-inch squares, I got them from Temu. And one of the things you have to be careful of is when you purchase some of these fabrics, sometimes, and you just really have to check. Every brand is completely different, but you really need to look to make sure that you're getting exactly what they say, because sometimes in these packs they may tell you that it's a 5-inch square or a 4-inch square, and when you lay it out and actually measure it, it truly is not. And I'm going to show you an example of that. So this one was supposed to be a 4-inch square, but just putting it on my mat, and it's kind of difficult to see, but you can see if this was truly 4 inches, I would not see any of this gray box right here. And so if I line it up here, I can see that it's got like 1/8 of an inch, not even, it's kind of really, really narrow, but I can see a little bit of the gray here. And it's because it's not cut to the exact size. And so you can see here on this side, if I turn it, I kind of get the same thing. This one is kind of overlapping on the line. So they're not exact cuts. So if you are working on a project, let's say a quilt or something, and you need these to be exact, always check your packs before you start on the project. Now, this one, it's a pin cushion, so it really doesn't matter too much. But if you're doing some type of other project, you always want to check your packs before you go ahead and work with them, because I would hate that you are in the middle of your project and then you see that things are not lining up correctly, and it's really because the fabric was not cut correctly. So you can remember that there's always 3 things that are going to kind of distort your projects. It's either that the fabric was not cut correctly, that it was not sewn correctly to the correct seam allowance, maybe you kind of veered off a little bit, or it could be that it was not ironed correctly, because ironing also plays a role into these types of projects. So I think it's really important to just kind of keep that in mind when you are looking at these, because they tend to vary depending on the manufacturer that you are purchasing this from. Let's see. So I saw a question here. Oh, Judy's asking, did the Temu fabric fray much? Is it very thin fabric, and would you buy it again? It does fray. I can tell you that, and you can see some of that right here, actually. Let me bring this one up. You can see here, there is some fraying that's happening here. But I find that to be kind of expected. It's not horrible, but there is a little bit of fraying here. But, you know, for what you have to kind of, you get what you pay for, you know. So it's thin fabric. It was relatively very low cost. It does have some fraying, but this is not the type of fabric that I would probably make a huge big quilt with. Like, this to me is kind of like great little scrap fabrics that I can maybe make little blocks or things with, but nothing that is going to be like a huge project. Like, if I think this is going to be something that, you know, is going to take me a long time to do and I'm investing a lot of time in it, I really would probably invest in a little bit more quality fabric, like something like a Kona would be good, or, you know, those are the types of fabrics that are a little bit better for those projects that are really going to take you some time. You know, it's going to be relatively expensive for you because of the time that you're taking to make it. So if you're thinking of selling it, you want to make sure that the quality is there as well. But for these tiny little projects, like just doing these little cushions, this is perfectly fine. Perfectly fine, because you're just going to be sticking pins in here. So you don't want like a high quality fabric just to be able to stick pins in it, right? So I think that for these little projects that you have, they're fine. I do a lot of things where, you know, so I'm not such a big seller per se, but I like to kind of experiment on little projects and just kind of audition them. So what you can do when you're thinking of doing a specific project that maybe you're going to be selling, you may want to audition different fabrics. So you may, depending on the project that you're making, you know, take different fabrics of different manufacturers to see which one plays with your machine the best. Because remember, it really depends what you're making. How many folds are you making? You know, what kind of thread are you going to be using with it? You know, are you going to have a lot of seams? Is there going to be a lot of bulk? What type of interfacing are you going to work with? Like, how does the fabric play with all of these other items? It may or may not distort something that you're trying to make. Do you need it to be very thin? Do you need it to be thick? It really, you know, every project is completely different because they all require different things. Some may be bulky, some may require a construction stitch to really hold the things together, or sometimes you don't need it to be extremely, you know, a construction stitch, and you can loosen up that stitch length and make it a little bit longer, and you want to have a little bit of that give. Maybe you want it to have a little stretch in it. So it really will depend what you're making and the construction of what you're doing. Now, if it's a project that doesn't call for anything, you know, fancy, if, you know, you really don't use and you don't think it's going to be like a wear and tear type of thing that people are going to be pulling on it, then, you know, this may be fine. But if you're going to do something that they're going to be pulling and tugging, like let's say a bag, it's going to be holding materials, you know, you need to make sure that your stitching is going to be able to hold on to that material. And if you have like a ton of fraying or very light material with no interface, then you may want to think about using something else, because all of that stretch and pull and wear and tear that you're going to be giving onto that fabric, you want to make sure your project is able to sustain it. So, you know, just make sure that when you're selecting your fabrics, you're doing it for the project that you're completely going to be working with, because every fabric plays a different role on based on how it's going to be used. So I hope that helped. Okay, so let's get this over to the sewing machine and let's see if we can line these up. Now I can already see that the fabric itself is a little off, you know, so it's not going to be straight, but it's totally fine. We're going to square it up. I'm not going to worry about it. It's just a pin cushion and it's going to be great. So let's go ahead. Now I'm going to sew not just across so that we can seal it, but I'm going to sew it in a U shape. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a 1/4 inch seam coming down this way, going across, and then coming back up. So you can do it in 3 different steps, or you can just go ahead, bring it all the way down to the corner, leave your needle down, put your foot up, pivot, go ahead, continue to sew. When you get to the next corner, you can pivot it again, leaving the needle down and in place, and then just continue on to finish the end. So let's go ahead and do that, and then after we'll square this off and get rid of these extra side pieces and get it nice and square. So let me bring this over. Okay. Line up my seams. Now you can use pins if you'd like. You can go ahead and pin it in place. That way it doesn't move on you. But let's go ahead and get this going. Okay. Grab my little sewing foot here. There we go. Now I'm sewing just a little bit off since I know my fabrics are off. I'm going to sew a little bit more into the 1/4 inch. And then I'm going to lift up my presser foot. My needle is down and I'm going to pivot. And then I'm going to bring my foot back down and go ahead and sew some more. If you feel like you haven't gotten all the way down, just go ahead and bring it back up. Put your needle back down. Give it a couple more stitches and then try it again until you get to that 1/4 inch. So it's really simple to do. Just take some practice, then go ahead and let it go across. And you just let the machine feed itself. Now you'll notice that your center seam, since everything's laying nice and flat, it's going to sew right over it. And this is only 2 little layers, so there's really not too much to sew. I'm going to go ahead, I pivot it again, and I'm going to bring this down to the other side. So again, we're just sewing a little U, and now we're going to go ahead and square this off. So let's take this back over here. And you can see here, what I've sewed is just a 1/4 inch coming down here, going all the way across, and then back up. And you see how all this fabric is not lined up because I didn't square it off before. So let's go ahead and square it now. You can just grab my little ruler. Let me grab this one here. And I'm just going to clean it up because, again, I mean, the fabric is not the best quality, which it's totally fine. And let me just grab my little rotary cutter here. Make sure that I am nice and lined up. And my fabric is lined up. And you can see now I am a 1/4 inch away. So I lined up my ruler. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing again here. I can line up my 1/4 inch right on the seam. Again, we're just squaring this up, cleaning it off. And you really don't have to do this per se. I just like to do it to make the project look like cleaner. So I'm going to go ahead, clean that piece off. And I needed to snip a little thread I have hanging there. Okay. And so now, put my ruler back. You can see we have like a little pocket right here. That's all we have. See? So what we're going to do now, we're going to stretch this open. And as you stretch it, you're going to see the two other sides are going to want to meet together. So what we're going to do is grab these two edges and we're going to pin these together. So what we're going to do is just grab this here on this side here. I'm going to grab a little pin, kind of pin that in place. Then I'm going to go to the other side. You see my seams are together. And I'm going to go ahead and stretch the other side and put a pin probably halfway mark is totally fine. It doesn't have to be exact. All you're doing is pinning these two sides and you're going to have this center piece open. So we're not going to sew into the center piece here. We're just going to now go back and sew where we've pinned. So you're going to be sewing from here to here. And then on this side, from here to here. That's the only two pieces you're going to sew. So you're going to have a small little hole here in the middle. And that's fine. We're going to need that in order to turn it inside out and then start adding the stuffing. So now let's just go back to the sewing machine and we're just going to close these two little pieces up. So I'll come back over here. And lay this here. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and sew this. And just be careful with your pins. And I'm going to just backstitch a little bit here. Only because I'm going to be pulling and tugging on it just a little bit. So I want to make sure that it's nice and secure. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that out. I've taken my pin out. And now we'll do the same thing on the other side. And let's just drop that here. I'm going to backstitch a little bit. Okay. There we go. Just like that. So now what we have here is just a little opening here on the top. So it's very, very small. And we're going to go ahead and turn it inside out. So let's go ahead and flip that over. You just use your little fingers. And if you have, oh, there's so many things you can use. You can use a chopstick. You can use that little purple thing that a lot of people rave about as well. And it's pretty fun. A little pencil. Just try not to poke too hard. Just grab the little corners. Right now I'm just using my fingers to get it out there. You just want to pop those in place. And I'm just going to grab the little chopstick and just kind of reinforce. Just don't push too hard on these. You don't want to pop a stitch there. There's one little corner here. Now, another thing you can do, and this kind of depends what you're doing, and I probably should have showed you this before I flipped it over. What you can do, and let me just go back really quick. On here, if you go to your corners, you can just kind of snip the corners a little bit here. So you can see here, let me just turn it again inside out. You want to take the corners where you have sewed that U shape, and it's very, very little that you'll be taking off. You just snip the little corners right here, or actually let me take my little scissors because then I can show you what I've snipped off. You can see it's very, very little. I can barely get it in my hands. This is the tiny piece that you're going to be taking out of the little corners here. You're just snipping that corner. And the only reason why you're doing that is just so that you can have a pointier point when you turn it inside out, right? That's the only reason for that. So once you've done that, then go ahead and go back and just flip it inside out again. So let's go back to that again. And you'll want to make sure that when you cut those tiny little corners, just make sure that you do not cut the stitching. So just be a little careful with that. Okay. Here we go. Again, you can see it kind of coming into shape. I'm going to grab my little chopstick here. Just poke it out a little bit. There you go. So you can see on the other side, you have your nice clean little corners there, and the points are nice and pointed to the middle. And then on the other side, it's the same as well. We have the little hole that we're going to be closing here. So this is what it should look like. Okay. Now the only thing you'll have left to do is to start stuffing it. So let's start. Let's grab a little bit of this polyfill. Now I got this polyfill from the Dollar Tree. They sell these little bags, which are nice. It's perfect for these little projects. And what I like to do is just kind of break off little pieces. And I like to stuff the corners first. So I make sure that the corners are nice and stuffed in there. And I'll just grab little pieces just for those corners, and I'll put those in place. I like to do the opposites. And then just kind of grab another one. Stuff that one into place. And grab a little more here. You can see how it's already taking shape. And then now it's kind of up to you how much you want to stuff it. So you can put a lot, you can put a little, it's really up to you. But remember, using this for pins, so you want to be kind of generous in making sure that it's going to be able to absorb the pins that you're sticking in there. So I like to kind of stuff it with a decent amount. There you go. And so now it's nice and stuffed. You see it's already taken its shape. And so you have a nice little pin cushion here. Now all you have to do is just close it off. And there's different ways that you can do that. So some people will take it to a sewing machine and go ahead and close this off. All you have to do is just kind of pinch it. And you'll see that the fibers of the fabric will naturally kind of curve in. So you've already gotten this to a point that if you just pinch it, it kind of puts itself in place. And so you can just grab a little needle and thread, and you can kind of just do a whip stitch to close it, which is, I think that's what I'm going to do. So I have a little needle and thread here. I can go ahead and just whip stitch it. Or some people would just also try to just take it into the machine. You can do that. It's just going to be a little difficult because you've got all this polyfill holding it together. So, you know, it just may not play nicely. But it can be done. Now, I'm doing a whip stitch, so I'm just going to kind of bring that into place. And I'm kind of just holding it with my fingers in place. You could pin it as well if you'd like. And I'm barely going in to the fabric. Like I'm doing about 1/8 of an inch in to the fabric. I don't want it to show too much. So I'm just doing very, very small little stitches that you can barely see. And it's just enough to kind of grab the two fabrics and bring them together. That's really all you need to do. And then I'm kind of grabbing this here, making sure that I have both sides, and then just pulling it through. Okay, so I hope you guys are enjoying this. Hope you guys had a great weekend as well. I know everyone was all excited with the Super Bowl, and I think everyone had a great time. It was an exciting game. Okay, and when I get to that middle part, I want to make sure that my seams are going to be nice and lined up, because I still want that to come out nice. Although, most people won't even see it. Because if you're going to kind of put a button or accent it, a lot of people will not see that. So it really doesn't matter if you can't get it perfectly lined up. Okay. And you can see here, I still have a little ways to go on the other side. I'm going to try to just speed this up and do like bigger gaps just so that we have enough time. And you want your stitching to be nice and tight as well. There's different stitches that you can do too. I'm just doing the whip stitch because that's probably the quickest, but you can definitely do others as well. You can make it as fancy as you want on here. Now, one of the things that you can do if you want to make it look like a flower, so it would be like similar to this one, instead of just like a square, is that you can start to wrap and do different things with the thread to give it that type of shape. So I'm gonna kind of show you what I mean. So I went ahead and cinched it. It's nice and closed now. You can see here. And I'm gonna go ahead and get myself right back to the middle of that center seam. I'm gonna pop that right back up and bring this in. So thanks guys for hanging out with me this afternoon. So we're gonna do a little giveaway at the end, so we're almost there, and I'm gonna be sharing that with you in just a minute. But what I want to show you really quick, if you want to make something like the flower shape, all you have to do is take your needle and thread and wrap it around the actual cushion. So I'm going from one end, this back end of the cushion, I'm going to go back to the front, and I'm going to bring this needle from the outside. I'm going to go ahead and poke it into that center seam and then push it all the way through to the front. Now, if you have a longer needle, this would be the time to kind of break that out. I think that makes it just a little bit easier. But if you don't, it's okay. You could use this one as well. So I went ahead and just used this one just to kind of save some time. And you can see here, once I start to really pull it and tug on it, you see it starts to kind of take that shape. So you can see here, kind of takes that little pull. Now you just have to be, you know, you pull on it and you have to be consistent. So you have it pulled and you have to kind of try to hold it there. And then just kind of try to go to the other side and make sure it's nice and tight. And then bring it back again. So you can do a second one. And then just pull that. Pulling it nice and tight. And then you're going to want to go the other way to do the other side. And you can do this multiple times so that it kind of stays in place. So go ahead and grab this one. I'm going to pull that. And then I'll grab the other side and pull this one as well. Then go ahead and pull it. And so you see it makes that little shape of the flower. And then all you have to do is tie it off in a knot and just make sure that it's nice and tight so it doesn't kind of lose that a little bit. Now, what you can do is just kind of pick up a little bit of the fabric in the back, just very, very little so you can barely see it. And that'll help kind of keep it nice and tight there. And then I just do the same thing again. So I'll do it twice just to kind of hold it. And then you can go ahead and tie it off. Okay. Now that you have it tied it off, you can pick a little button. And I have several of my little button jars to pick from. I think I'm going to go ahead and just use this one. And you can use a hot glue gun to kind of stick that in place. Or if you can use the blue one, I mean, use different ones that you can use. You can take the hot glue gun and put it there, or you can just take your needle and thread and just sew that on here. And so you have a cute little cushion that you can use and kind of stick your pins in here. So it'll be really nice to kind of grab that. And you can use these a lot on the go. So if you have like a little sewing retreat or something that you're going to, it makes it a lot easier to carry around. So quick, easy, really fun, nice little project and little gift giver that you can do. So I think that, you know, these are just really fun to make. So I've just made a few of them. So we do have a giveaway and we want to get to it. So I hope that you guys really enjoy it. Let's see here. What we would like to give away is a book. And let me just grab some water. So I think if you guys enjoy these little pin cushions, I think you'll enjoy the little book for the giveaway that we're doing. And that's going to be a little book on pin cushions and making different pin cushions. So I thought this would be appropriate since we're making pin cushions that maybe we can try to do that as well. So just go ahead, check this one out. This is the little book that we'll be giving away. We'll order it through Amazon so you could get it directly shipped to your home. And so in order to win the giveaway, there's just one thing you have to do is just to answer a question. And if you've been watching for a while, I think you probably already know the answer to the question. So the first person that answers this correctly will be winning the book. So get ready, get your little hands ready to type the answer, and the first person that types it in is going to win the book. So excuse me, got a little tickle coming in here. Sorry. So I think you'll really enjoy it because it's a cute little book and it has tons of little pin cushions, and like I said, there's all different types of sizes that you can make. There's round ones, square ones. You can make little flower shaped ones like I did here. So I think you guys will really enjoy these, and they're little portable things and they're a little soft, squishy. They're fun to make. So we're going to have one winner, and that winner is going to win the book. And I think you guys will really like it. So, okay. Let's see if we have any questions before I go on to the giveaway. Let's see. Oh, Donna Phillips says the spring floral fabrics are so cherry on this cold winter Southwest Louisiana day. Temps are dropping. Ooh, 45 degrees and frigid wind chills. I am so ready for warmer weather. I can only imagine, Donna. Yeah. Let's see. Annette says, I'll have to try them. I gravitate back to making clothes and having a goal someday. I'll attempt to make a coat. Nice. Wow, I'd like to see that, Annette. We're going to hold you to that. Let's see. That Sunday is so cute on the cover. Okay, I think everyone likes it. Oh, Sassy says, I just love the coat and dress that Doris Day wore in most of her movies. Aw. Alrighty, so guys, are you ready? Let me know if you're ready. Let me know in the chat if you're ready. Let's see who's ready to start this giveaway. So I'm going to be asking a question. You're going to be typing in the answer, and the first one that pops up with the answer is going to be the winner of this book. So I hope that you guys are ready to do this. So if you're ready, get ready to type. You're going to be typing in the answer. Okay, I see some people saying they're ready. Judy's ready. Jenny's ready. Cheryl, Rita, Crafting with Robin, Amy, everybody's ready. Okay, great. So you're all ready. Here we go. Okay, so you just have to type the answer. It's one word answer. That's all you got to put in there. And the question is, what is the name of my first yellow parakeet or budgie? What is the name of my very first yellow parakeet? Or some people call them budgies. You'd have to know the name of my parakeet or budgie. Let's see. And I see some answers coming in. And I see Judy Bauer, Sunshine, Amy, Sunshine, Crafting with Robin said Sunshine, 1 minute tip. Yes, that is correct. So you guys seen her. We've shown her on the intro, and her name is Sunshine, and she's my little yellow parakeet. I started off with Sunshine, then we got Blue, and then came all the others, Olive, and all the other ones that we have kind of grown into our little aviary here, and that is correct. So Judy Bauer was the first one that came up on my list, so congratulations. Just go ahead and send me an email with your information, and we will get the book out to you. And I hope you enjoy it. It's really a lot of fun. I think the cushions are really a great little scrap buster project that you can make, and they make great gifts to give out too. Oh. Sassy says Petey was her first. Aww. And Judy says my first parakeet was Petey too. Oh, Petey must be a popular name then. Congrats. Oh, that's great. Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you guys all for tuning in. I hope you really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun making another one of these. I really like them, and I think they're really great little gifts. So I think with spring coming up, these are perfect little flowers that you can make. You know, some people can even like add a stem to them and actually make these like a little floral thing. And so they have like a little vase with some floral pincushions on top, and they actually looks really cute. So that's another little project that you can do as well. But awesome, awesome. Well, thank you guys all for tuning in again so much. I truly appreciate you spending the time with me. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I hope I was able to help out with some little tips and tricks that you can do and sell to make a little bit of money out there. So thank you again for tuning in, and I hope to be crafting with you soon. Bye, everyone.